Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another Atlantic tropical forecast here by Adrian's Weather Forecast. We have yet another huge update, and this is actually involving Hanna. It is now a strengthening and getting to a very strong tropical storm now, and we now have hurricane warnings for the Texas coast, including Corpus Christi. So we have our first hurricane warnings of the whole Atlantic season so far, and this is including the Texas coast, as the National Hurricane Center predicts this to become a Category 1 75-mile-an-hour storm right before landfall, like I predicted around 36, if not 24 hours ago. I did mention in my last video how the National Hurricane Center will possibly be updated today, and here it is updating to a hurricane. So now we got hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings as well for much of the Texas coast. So we're going to be monitoring this very closely. Could become a hurricane right before landfall tomorrow. So that's a very interesting topic for tomorrow. Could definitely bring devastating flooding, storm surge of 2 to 4 feet, 75 plus mile an hour wind gusts, and maybe it could become a little stronger than 75 miles an hour. But we're going to be talking the cone, the timing, the strength, the amount of rain, all of that in this video. Before we get into the video, please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you guys all so much for all support we have gotten the past coming days. Also, like the video if you really enjoyed it, and hit the post notification icon if you want to get notified as soon as I post a video. Without further ado, let's look at the tropical forecast. So here is the National Hurricane Center update. As you see here, we have Invest 92L officially in Invest here at a 40%, or actually now 50% chance for the next for the next 5 days. So they just updated it as right now, just right now. This is actually expecting to become maybe the letter I, Isaias. So that's very interesting. We may have letter I before August, which is absolutely never done before with this huge tropical wave. I'll be talking about more most likely tomorrow, but obviously tomorrow is a huge day with landfalls with Hanna, and also as well with looking at Douglas. So maybe I won't talk about this. I'll talk about it at some point. Just I don't know about tomorrow. But here we got tropical storm Hanna now at 50 miles an hour. Like I said, it's continuing to strengthen. Minimal center pressure has now hit the 900, so the triple digits, so it is continuing to get a lot more organized at 999 millibars. So I could very well see this becoming 60, if not 65 miles an hour by the end. Actually, not 65. I think this could be 60 miles an hour by the next by the end of tonight, really, and then really it's going to be strengthening a ton overnight. So this is the 8th advisory, and it is moving a little bit faster now at 10 miles an hour, located out here into the far western Gulf, very close to that potential landfall there. As we look at the great details, as you see, we're going to be seeing up to possibly 10 to 15 inches of rain off the coast of Texas, but for areas of southern Texas, could very well see 6 to 10 inches of rain. As you can tell, 6 to 10 inches of rain. That's a lot of rain for portions near Corpus Christi in the far southern portion of Texas, into as well as Mexico. Wind probability, we do have a 70 to 80% chance for a tropical storm, if not higher force winds for portions of Texas. Very soon we'll have the 90 to 100% chance for inland areas, and flash flooding potential is now a 20% chance of moderate risk. I would not rule out the possibility for a high risk, most likely right in this little area right here. I'm actually going to put this a blue. I found a purple. There we go, purple for where the high risk will be. I think it'll most likely be right here where this high risk, if we get one right there, that's where I'm thinking, because that's where this cone is continuing to show those outer bands moving in those areas. Let's go and check out now the satellite imagery here. This thing looks absolutely crazy. Not only that, this storm's actually developing an eye already. Look at the beautiful eye just popping up right there. It's not super clear. It's 50 miles an hour. But look at that. This thing is actually developing an eye right here. Look at that right there. Just look right in here. You're going to see this is developing an eye at 50 miles an hour, which is absolutely crazy. This thing is going to be entering into RI, which means rapid intensification. And look at these outer bands. They stretch all the way to the Bay of Campeche. This is the whole storm. It is absolutely mental, the size of this tropical storm. One of the most organized tropical storms in July I've ever seen. Just look at these outer bands, perfectly placed. These outer bands are perfect. Low pressure is developing. just look at the eye. The eye is actually developing. There is an eye wall that has been developing over the day, like I've been saying on microwave IR. It has been developing an eye wall, and now it's even possibly developing a area of uh less severe storms and obviously calmer conditions, which will be that inner eye there. Really, absolutely crazy how this is developing, or at least popping up an eye for a little bit. But really, this thing's absolutely crazy on satellite imagery. Very large storm, let me tell you that. Here's also simulated IR. As you see, this does look very organized. Look at that. And you can see that eye possibly right there where we have the highest amount of, right there, highest amount of convection developing. That it will be the eye wall that is continuing to develop as we saw today. You can see this eye wall just going around like this. That's the eye wall we've been talking about today. That eye wall with the highest amount of convection there. Convection is absolutely crazy. These heat towers are absolutely mental. So this thing looks beautiful on satellite imagery. It really looks like a category. If you told me this was a category 3, I would believe you. Really, I really would believe you if you told me if this category 3. Even with the obviously they had an eye on this point, it looked like a category 3. But even if you told me, even if it doesn't have an eye right now, I'll still say this could possibly be a category 1 or category 2. Let's go and check out now the tropical storm Hanna, the 4 p.m. Central Time update, and this is for the National Hurricane Center. We now have tropical storm warnings across areas of the southeastern Texas coast, including Corpus Christi, Port O'Connor, just to the north of these hurricane warnings on those little outer islands there. So we have hurricane warnings now. Our first hurricane warnings for the whole Atlantic hurricane season. And also our first hurricane warnings for the whole year, including Eastern Pacific, I believe, as well. So absolutely crazy hurricane warnings for Corpus Christi and areas of southeastern Texas there. So that's just crazy here. Absolutely crazy. And then we have the tropical storm warnings all the way from near Port Mansfield all the way to Port O'Connor to just south of Houston. So really the Texas coast is prepared for this. As of now, no state of emergency, really. I don't expect one. I do expect a lot of shelters, though, for anyone who, I don't think many people really, I wouldn't say it's necessary for shelter, or I don't think it's necessary for evacuating. It will be a category 1, but I would say put the shears on your windows. Just be prepared. But look, as you see, 75 miles an hour right before landfall. I've been saying that since, I've been saying that not too long really, but I said in the video before, or in the I think the late morning or early afternoon, I said this could very well have 75 miles an hour just before landfall, right before it makes landfall. And look at it, look at this, 75 miles an hour at Saturday, tomorrow evening, right before landfall. Right when it's getting close at this point. Here, as you see, 50 miles an hour, moving west at 10 miles an hour, and this is expected to strengthen all. Just look at the storm. It's a beautiful storm. It does look like a hurricane, really. Here's now the National Hurricane Center, or the NOAA update. As you see, here's a very large tropical storm force wind extents, and look at that hurricane right there at 1 p.m. on Saturday. So this is going to be making landfall a bit sooner than expected. It did actually say 7 p.m. on Sunday or on Saturday. Saturday in the evening, but it is actually changing, I guess, with the NOAA. It's actually saying 1 p.m. So that's that. Hurricane warnings, of course, for areas including Corpus Christi and just south of Port O'Connor or Fort O'Connor. Port O'Connor. Here's now the peak surge, storm surge. Storm surge is the amount of water that comes off the coast in height and feet. So the amount of water really in height wise over land. So we're gonna be seeing up to 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. That actually 4 feet of storm surge, guys, can pick up a car. It can pick up a car. 3 feet actually can pick up a car, but 4 feet can very well pick up a car. So we're gonna be seeing widespread 1 to 2 foot storm surge as far north as Houston. So we can see flooded waters in the Houston Bay, I believe. And 1 to 3 4 storm surge for the mouth of the Rio Grande, and also for the Bayfin Bay. But 2 to 4 foot storm surge near the Corpus Christi area, as Corpus Christi is basically right in the eye of this potential landfall. So really absolutely crazy. 2 to 4 storm surge for a Category 1 hurricane in July. And not only Category 1, a borderline Category 1. So this is showing you how Category isn't really the threat. It's the storm surge and flooding. So basically storm surge. Let's say there is going to be 4-foot storm surge. Add 10 inches of rain. We're going to be seeing up to 10 inches of rain here. We may actually see a foot of rain for a portion of far southern Texas. So add the feet of water with storm surge and add up to a foot more with rain. That's gonna be up to 5 feet of water in inland areas, which is absolutely crazy. It's not the category that matters. Yeah, it's categorized for a reason, but that's not what really matters. It's actually the rain and the flooding and the storm surge are the two main killers of tropical storms. Let's go microwave IR. Like I said, we are gonna be seeing that dividing eye wall right there. Just look at that, possibly seeing up to 45 knots here. This thing is, like I said, throughout the day has been bringing in an eye wall. This is what it looked like earlier today. I believe earlier today it kind of looked like it was starting to strengthen. And look, there we go, right there, the little eye wall with extremely strong force wind, and that's continuing to circulate. We do have that very well eastern eye wall developing. We just need the western part of the eye wall to fully wrap around, and that's when it'll become a hurricane, and that's when the eye will form. The reason why the eye isn't completely visible, not only because it's a tropical storm, but look at right when it cuts out. Those strong winds are starting to wrap around, and once it's completely in a circle, that's when you see the eye. See, this is today, and watch when it wraps around with the knots. Look, as you see right there, see, it starts to wrap around, and you have this already. So that's why we are starting to see a little eye, because it is starting to develop that eye wall, and then that means the eye is next. Here's Tropical Storm Hanna tracks. As you see, still models are showing as far north as Port O'Connor to as far as Harry south of Corpus Christi. This is kind of the general eye, though. Really, I don't know why models are so actually going to New Mexico or all the way up like there. That's definitely not going to happen. This is basically the cone really for where the storm's actually going to go. And it may or may not go back in the Pacific, so maybe, who knows, maybe something to watch out in the Pacific. But this is the cone really going to be going right over, most likely just to the south of Corpus Christi there, and make a direct landfall. But the worst of the storm surge will be in the northern part of the storm, as that's where we're seeing the larger and most widespread and the worst of the rain here. As you know, storms have their worst side, either the west, the east, the south, or the north, really. I think I remember Arthur, the worst side of the storm was actually the eastern part. So the worst of it was actually just off the coast of the Outer Banks. So this would actually be more of a northern worst side storm here. As you see, there it is. Models show it going as far as the Corpus Christi area, but most of them do show it going to the south of Corpus Christi right here. So it's going to be a very close call for Corpus Christi, but as of now, the worst of the rain will be south, all the way right here near the Rio Grande, right here. But the worst of the storm surge could be to the north, as we're going to be seeing rougher seas. So here's now the HWRF Hanna forecast here for precipitation, MLSP, and this actually has been the most accurate on Hanna. As you can say, it is showing it getting as far as 972 millibars, which is possibly Category 2. I don't see Category 2, but it's been a lot more accurate than the GFS. GFS is finally picking up on Hanna. And it had to take a hurricane warning for the GFS to wake up, which is absolutely just way too late, really. So we're not going to be looking at the GFS in this video. But as you see, what I mean by the northern part of the storm will be a lot worse. Just look at the bands that are going to be heading constantly to the northern part of the storm. It's making landfall around 974 millibars right before landfall right there. And you're going to see exactly why the worst of the rain is going to be north. And that's why that storm surge will be a lot worse for areas near Corpus Christi. Look at all that rain. Look at the center of the storm. We're seeing a lot. The outer bands are going to bring out as well, possibly tornadoes. We do actually possibly maybe have a severe weather risk as well for tomorrow. So we're really going to get very interesting. Let's go now check out 10-meter wind as well on this storm here. As you see, in the next 6 hours, we are going to expect possibly 51 knots, so maybe 61 miles an hour by the end of the night. Like I'm saying, this thing could very well be a strong to moderate tropical storm by the end of tonight. The next 9 hours expected to possibly get it up to possibly 58 knots. So that's getting closer to 70-mile-an-hour mark at 986 millibars. And then it starts to really strengthen right before landfall. The next 18 hours, it's going to be reaching 72 knots, so just under 82 miles an hour. That's going to be on the kind of northeastern part of the storm. And then look at this, it's going to bring in, once again, possibly 71 knots within the next 24 hours. So next 24 hours, you can see a possibly landfall. Look at that eye, very well defined here. Like I said, it's going to start forming this eye very soon. Like the next 3 hours, it's kind of wrapping around. Like I said, it's wrapping around. It's doing that wrapping around thing, just not all the way. It has to go like this. Like I said, that's exactly why I'm saying this is actually developing an eye wall. And once it fully wraps around like this, that's when it becomes a hurricane. That's exactly when. And it's going to bring crazy winds, possibly 73 miles an hour over these areas. It's going to be absolutely crazy. The last thing we'll be looking at is the rainfall totals. Look at this, possibly going to bring in over 12 inches of rain for a portion of far southern Texas right there. Could possibly see very well up to 14 inches of rain. That is what the GFS model is showing here. Let's go now check out actually the NAM 3KL model really quickly here on the precipitation. Look at that, possibly over 20 inches of rain. That seems a little overboard, but the NAM is actually very detailed radar site really. Let's go and check out now the precipitation here. Just look at all that rain coming in from this tropical, soon to be hurricane. Just look at that extremely intense rain. 977 millibars for the NAM 3KM model. But like I said, the heaviest rain will be to the north of this low pressure system. This is going to be absolutely crazy, absolutely mental rain, tropical downpour. So we can very well see over a foot of rain, which is why I think this risk for flash flooding will increase to a 50% high risk. So guys, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. This wraps it up. So I will try to have as many uploads as I can tomorrow. I do have my birthday party in the around late afternoon, around 4ish. So that's kind of around. It's gonna possibly make landfall in the evening. So honestly, I'll try to really make a video, but honestly, I probably won't make a video right when it makes landfall. I'll have to do it before it does, maybe no more. I'll probably do as many uploads as I can before. Maybe expect 2 uploads from me before the 4 o'clock mark. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new, and bye guys.